Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. If you're watching the VODs on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you are so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/Otaku Showboat to leave a follow to be notified when I go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. You can do all of the social stuff through the links below the video, including supporting Pyandon's mods development at patreon.com/Pyandon, and myself at patreon.com/Otaku-Showboat. So, stuff to talk about before we actually get into the game. There is one rather important discussion to have a little bit before, and that is that yesterday was the kitten's first visit to our vet. It was the initiation visit for our vet that we had been using for years at this point. So yeah, they got their treatments, I guess, and their identifications of everything that's wrong with them. Just a reminder: the kittens are rescues, and were put together with a whole bunch of other rescue cats for some time after they got initially rescued. So yeah, it's was an interesting day, particularly in these current times, because we basically had to just sit in the car for over an hour and a half waiting. They came and picked up the kittens from their carrier with the carrier from the car and took them inside, and then we just had to wait for the vet to do all of the stuff that she does for them, all of the tests and checking and all that good stuff. And as it turns out, yeah, they do have some health problems at the moment. They both have conjunctivitis in the eyes, uh, which we had noticed. They both have ear mites as well as bacteria. I think it's yeast that's in the ears. And they have some minor GI things. So the vet thinks that they have a virus right now, just generic A virus. Not quite certain if it's the virus, because domestic house cats, have been diagnosed with having the virus. They are capable of getting the virus, but yeah, and it causes similar symptoms as to what they have, which is also a little bit interesting, to say the least. But yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of medications for them, and it ended up being a very expensive outing overall. That trip for all the medications that they need. We now have two cats in need of pills in their food, in squirting syringe liquid medicine, as well as ear cleaning, as well as ear drops and eye drops, like daily. So they're going to get the full gamut of stuff that's problematic to give to cats going forward. But the good news is everything that they found, that the vet found that was a problem, can be fixed with the medications. So once they recover from these things and get the medication over time, which we have and are beginning today, they'll be fine. You know, the mites and the yeast in the ears can go away. The virus they'll recover from eventually, and yeah, they're otherwise completely healthy and fine, and they're great. They are apparently adorable, according to the vet. So yeah, with that little update, from yesterday. That was the big event yesterday that took a whole bunch of time in like really hot weather. Let's get into the game and let's actually start playing some Factorio. I'm just going to adjust myself a little bit, get my mic adjusted just a smidge. I think my monitor is also a little bit off because the cats like to come up onto my desk and then wedge themselves in between my monitor and my TV. There's a little gap to get behind on the desk that leads directly to a window, as well as like the top of our printer. So they just go that way to get to the window to look outside. So I did a few things off screen. A few things have been done off screen. Let's see. I've made notes of this. Where to begin? So first off, chromite sand. Chromite sand. I have just routed some from my chromium production to the train network and now have it being brought in to my mall. This will come in handy over the course of the day today. I now have a plastic factory over here, a dedicated plastic factory that is the BTX method, BTX based ethylene. So ethylene plus benzene plus iron oxide into plastic is the preferred method for me at the moment. I have benzene being made elsewhere in another factory, so I have brought that over. It's actually being made like right here, is it not? Yeah. It's being made right across the street. Like right across the rails. It's produced right there. The excess, the naphtha that comes from this recipe that's making the BTX to make the ethylene is actually being used to make the steam for both of these steps above, and it actually overproduces on the naphtha, so I have to void the remainder of it, unfortunately. But we're right next to a convenient supply of oil to feed the whole process, which is great. It consumes a little bit of lead, a little bit of iron oxide, and a bit of benzene to end up making plastic here, along with the oil. So that's great. That means I got to remove it from my mall. And you may notice there's a bit more space in the mall right now available. A little bit more empty space, in particular, right in here in the mall. But we'll get to that right now. Actually, the next thing on the list is I now have a brains factory. The Brains, caps, BRAINZ, the Brains Factory. Yeah, it's Og Pups. I said that I would likely do Og Pups to get the production of the brains. This makes 5 brains per second in total for something that looks quite tiny by comparison to the other stuff I have going on involving Augs and even involving the Muckmo up here for the guts and the blood. This is very reasonable, but it's only 5 brains per second. It's more than what I need at the moment, which is fantastic. One key thing to note here, though, with the Aug pups, is that when you grow the Aug pups in the creature chamber, they produce standard Augs without cages, and there's no cages involved in this particular recipe. So you have to cage the Augs first, and then you can slaughter them. Just one of those interesting things with the Augs that's a little bit different than many of the others, like up here with the growing of the Muckmo calves. They grow and are making the caged versions. they make the caged versions here in these creature chambers, and it takes cages in and it produces the caged grown adults. So, just interesting things that have that change, that are different, I should say. Let's see, what else? I have improved, quote-unquote, my sugar production, although there is something I noticed that was a little bit off with that, wherever the sugar is. So sugar, I came over here and I brought in bones. Yes, it's a really big layout. It's a really big layout. How do I remember where everything is? I don't. This is why I have this is why I have this setting here enabled. Yeah, you push F4 to bring up this debug settings menu, and you go down to like the 8th from the bottom. It's like the 8th from the bottom, and it's this show recipe icons on the map. That's the only way I am able to even remotely attempt to remember where everything is just seeing the icons constantly. But yeah, so over here at the sugar production, I've got, instead of doing the cages and making augs to make the bones that I need for the sugar production, I can now bring in the bones, which is what I'm doing. And I did increase this to Mark IIs with productivity and all that good stuff, but it is limited by my lime. I forgot to scale the lime to actually feed this properly, because if I had the lime, this would make like close to 6 per second of sugar, like 5 point something. Yeah, experience and just good memory. Just in inherently good memory-ish. Good-ish memory for where the things are that I have done. So that's the sugar production. I now have a hydrochloric production zone. Or a hydrogen chloride, excuse me. I always am going to get confused, because this is hydrogen chloride. It's Angels, I think, that is the hydrochloric acid. Or is that also hydrogen chloride? Or is it both? I constantly mix them. But yeah, hydrogen chloride production factory. This is a very recent addition. I did this last night. This is bot-based. Why? Because very high throughput requirements, and it would be complete Beltageddon, just vomit of belt if I tried to run belt on this. But yeah, so it's 7 salt mines with maximum mining speed of 60 per second, as well as the limit minus 80% on the power consumption. So they're using a minimal amount of coke for these, as well as producing a maximal amount of items. In this case, with my current mining productivity, that is 72 units of salt per second per mine. So 72 times 7. I planned out for production of 1,000 units of hydrogen chloride per second in this particular factory. Yeah, 1,000 units per second is this particular factory. It consumes 500 units of salt to produce 5,000 units of saline water. That is then electrolyzed into 1,000 each of chlorine and hydrogen, and 100 per second of the sodium hydroxide. This produces 100 per second of sodium hydroxide that I am just straight up voiding, because yeah, I've already got a sodium hydroxide factory, and I don't really need it. Yep. I don't really need it at this point. When I do, and when I'm consistently consuming hydrogen chloride to, make it useful, I might tack on an extra like overflow type station here for the sodium hydroxide, but we shall see about that going forward. Now, I do have something very similar to this to make chlorine specifically on the other side of the base over here. This is making significantly less chlorine, but it's a similar type of setup that is using belt. In particular, I think this is exactly 4 of these is exactly 72 per second, which is like a fantastic thing because I can just put the storehouse down and just have the 4 outputs and not have to worry about any balancing or any of that. And it's nice and relatively compact for each of these. But yeah, that's the chlorine because we need both of these things, the hydrogen chloride and the chlorine, for various other things. So that is one thing I have done. And then the last new factory that I have done here is right here. Raw fiber. Raw fiber, 30 per second of raw fiber. So a red belt of raw fiber out is what I have done here. In this very small, by comparison, factory. I have right here sugar-based raw fiber that is supposed to make 20 per second if I had the proper amount of sugar coming in, as well as the casein and all of that, because this is consuming like 2.5 units of casein per second. There's some issues with this, in that, A, I'm limited by other things that aren't kick-alk, although it is the best ratio of kick-alk into fiber, raw fiber. This doesn't take productivity modules. Like, this last step in particular doesn't do productivity. So, It's also consuming a whole bunch of stuff, and when I did the Hell mod, looking at it, I had originally planned it for 20. If I do 30, which is my other factory, if we sort of ignore the manure here when doing this comparison, this factory is consuming this stuff here. It's 52 buildings and 22.1 megawatts versus 57 buildings and 17.9. Like, that's pretty comparable, and this needs an input of Moondrop to Moondrop and input of casein. So there's the whole infrastructure to produce the casein that gets added onto this, as well as infrastructure to produce manure, as well as infrastructure to produce Moondrop for the methane. It's overall, it's way more complex. Way more buildings, I think, overall, in the grand scheme of things. And more power. So it's like, okay, you're more space and more power for everything involved in all of this, including the sulfuric acid, if you take that into consideration at all. Versus this. Just kick-alk. Yeah, versus just kick-alk, which, yes, still lamps. Both need lamps. Both need some amount of manure. 2.2 manure versus 0.33 is, like, not that much of a difference. A little bit of crude oil in, and I think I've brought in ash from outside, but you can even make that locally. So it's like, yeah, it's this. Sometimes simpler is going to be better, even though it's not the most efficient use of the kick-alk. Now, how would I improve this recipe versus the later phases of the kick-alk production? Because really, I think what comes into play here is that it's the ability to produce the kick-alk with this level of output that is really driving the efficiency of just doing the kick-alk, as well as, like, how are you getting your casein? Which Corlex recipes are you using? Which recipes are you using to produce the Moondrop? Like it's a very interesting dynamic there. But I think overall, how I would fix this is maybe a little less sugar. I think a little less sugar can help a bit, but it's difficult just because of the amount of complexity this has. Because I see the just doing this step at scale as being a heck of a lot simpler and more compact. So yeah, that is that. So now I have a consistent 30 per second more of the raw fiber, which is actually something I was limited by in my mall inherently. So now everything is sort of catching up now that I do have the consistent supply again of the raw fiber, including production of actual fiber with the nice glowy centrifuges making actual fiber, and like the fiber board for my PCB2s, effectively going into the phenolic boards, going into PCB2s for my circuit 2s, and all of that good stuff. So with all of that said, the last things to mention are scaling of stuff at the mall. So at the mall, you may notice that there's a big empty space right in here. This used to be the augs going into the brains. So I used to have augs for into brains here. That's gone. Last time we ended up doing the chitin, as well as all of this cobalt processing and the rare earth, tin, chromium, I think, alloy, whatever the heck this is actually called. We did that stuff last time, and this stuff, making a small amount of chitin, and like great alien samples, which I apparently am still limited by something. Yes, chitin. Chitin. That is actually... Oh, hey, glassware. Right. Why? Latex, most likely. Yeah, latex. Why, again, do I not have latex? Latex? What's with you? Oh, it's just insufficient latex, I guess. Yeah, I've always heard it pronounced as Kai-tin. Ah, see, there's this. It just recently came back, I see, because there's this big gap, and now we've got latex coming in again. So that's just a matter of time before that really starts to come back. I had noticed that I had a little oopsie somewhere around with the pipes of tar. I had broken one of these tar pipes and not replaced it. Somewhere, I think, in here, actually. And that completely stopped my iron production, which ended up stopping the formic acid production down here, which stopped the latex production, which, you know, stopped everything that the latex produces, including, you know, the rubber and the glassware. So that was fun. And it's only now, apparently, getting itself sorted out again. Although, just looking at this, what is the problem with this sodium alginate? Just not enough. Oh. Insufficient limestone. Great. Need more stuffs. Need more latex. Anyway, over time, I will get more of this great alien samples. But the point I was going to make is that I have scaled up my pluripotent stem cells. That is one of the main things that I have scaled up at my mall. Here is the pluripotents. Why do I need pluripotent stem cells? They are involved in bioprinting. And I need them to do some bioprinting. So the goal for the day today, ultimately, is to have non-zero amounts of circuit 3s. Non-zero amounts of circuit 3s. Now, breaking down this list, there is one very long chain not represented here that is a little bit more work than just placing down buildings. With most of what's left here is just plop the building. That's it. Like a lot of this is just plop buildings down and you're good, because I have a lot of this stuff already. A lot of the ingredients of this already being produced. I don't think I actually did the ECH breakdown, did I? No, I did not. Do I have oleochems and glycerol local? I don't remember. I don't remember this in the slightest. I should have the oleochems already. So this will be fine. Yeah, this will be fine. I should have this. If not, I'll add more. It's as simple as that. But the big thing here, the big thing here that's not actually represented is the helium for the lithium niobate. The helium, the wonderful helium, and then the actual lithium chloride. That's why I need the chromite sand in here, is to make lithium chloride. And how convenient that I have made a 1,000 per second hydrogen chloride factory to provide hydrogen chloride on my network. Gee, I wonder why I made a hydrogen chloride factory, and I wonder why I put acetone at my mall, bringing in by train some acetone as well, because I did that too. I in no way, shape, or form have enough chitin production. I have like 1 per second chitin production, something along those lines. But, we'll scale that over time. For now, though, I've got... Yeah, and I've brought the DMS in as well, that I have sneakily, very, very sneakily produced and put onto my network. So we need helium. I have a plan for that. Helium! Oh boy. So, helium can be as simple as placing down a singular particle accelerator to convert hydrogen into helium. Or we can do this, which is real helium. Or we could do real helium out of petroleum, liquid petroleum. And that is what I'm going to do. I do not have the tech to do the regolite mining yet, which is the top end best output of helium in the end. So for now, it's going to be the liquid petroleum, which is like the second best by comparison to the calcinate processing stuff from regolites. Now, I will note as well in this state of the game, in Pi Alien Life, that it is possible to go through and do this entire chain at this phase of the game, because before Pi Alien Life, the ability to make serine was, or the somewhere in the production of ethanolamine, there was some blockage by, I think it was super alloy, for a building which requires helium. So you needed to have some amount of helium to actually build the infrastructure to actually do the full helium processing chain. And really, once I do the calcinets, the only thing that changes out of this when I do get to calcinets is just like this initial set of steps before the ethanolamine. That's all that really changes, is just the stuff before ethanolamine. Because everything after this is just how do you get your dry gas stream. But all of that further processing of the dry gas stream is the same. So let's get started on this. All of this wonderful stuff. I'm going to... Well, I have this here going. So I have xenomorphic stem cells, or cells, xenogenic, excuse me, cells. These are being made out of bones and oxygen. There are recipes that use primers, but primers are far too expensive to consider using for this, for doing this. I am, of course, going to bioprint my come-out tendons. That much should be obvious. I'm going to bioprint my come-out tendons. Now, the bioprinter, I should have one up here that I'm currently using for Scrondrix. In particular, because we don't... I need like 0.19, right? I need like 0.19 tendons for a 50 helium out with all the productivity, and then, you know, more productivity will happen over time to make it that much better. So, yeah, let's get that down. And then I need a bioreactor. Yeah, tendons are pretty big of a setup. I have looked at tendons. I don't remember if I still have it in here anywhere. I don't see it. I don't see it, so I must have gotten rid of it at some point. But I did look at come-outs and the come-out tendons and was like, screw that. Especially since the Mark II come-out enclosures hold 100 modules each. So you need 100 come-outs to fill a come-out enclosure at Mark II. Like, the hell? Like, the hell? It's so much. So many. So many come-outs. Do I even have the Mark II come-out enclosure? I don't even remember. I don't even have the Mark 1. I don't even have the Mark 1 come-out enclosure because it's Super Steel, and I haven't done Super Steel yet. But I could make the Mark 2s as soon as I had the Super Steel to make the Mark 1s. Oh boy. That's another thing I need to do, is actually make Super Steel and Super Alloy, but of course Super Alloy needs helium! So here we are. Here we are, bioprinting the come-out tendons, which, yeah, that's also going to need some fetal serum. Which that is 3 up. Interesting. I have fetal serum. I have plenty. I have plenty of that fetal serum. I am bringing it in by train. Somewhere. I thought, maybe. Or am I producing some locally? I must be producing it locally. Out of the guts that I'm bringing in. So that's fine. That is fine. Might not have enough for this purpose, but that can be fixed. Where even is here? Hello, fetal serum. You're going... Oh. Oh, right, glassware. All right, we're waiting on glassware to happen again. But yeah, this is the pipe. Ah, it's going into there. So I need to bring it further down. Somewhere around there. Wow, one tile. One tile. One whole tile. And then it's just bioscaffolds. I have plenty. Plenty of bioscaffolds for this. Then I need the output. Yeah, plenty of bioscaffolds. You there. Ugh. Right. All this for alien bacteria. Serine. So serine would be really nice if it could take productivity. Just for reference. Like I can understand the tendons, but not the intermediate. This is an intermediate. This like it's an intermediate. Why? Because it cannot be used in the bioreactor as a bioreactor level limitation. So building limitation here. Yet another thing that I should consider just killing with fire. That takes speed. These all have speed. I need Zogna bacteria. I have Zogna down here. We need to move it to the left a little. It is right here. I need to move it to the left. Hello, Zogna. Fortunately, this has productivity. I say that, and then it's not going to have productivity anymore. But yeah, it's good. It makes sense. I approve. How far am I going with this? All the way over here. Ta-da! Zogna! You will need power regardless, so... There's that. There's that. You get to do the thing. I'm still waiting on the fetal serum to happen. Next up is the methyl acrylate, which is going to be near my methanol, and it needs to be near my sulfuric acid. Okay, is there a spot near both of these things? So here's methanol, right here. Right here, I've got the existent amounts of methanol. As for sulfuric acid, I think it ends up being a little bit higher. Oh yeah, there's methanol. Sulfuric. It is being used somewhere in this mess. I know it gets used on the aramid, so I should have sulfuric here. Yeah, there it is. There it is. So there's sulfuric. And I just had seen the methanol. Now I've lost my methanol again. So methanol is here. Methanol is right here, and sulfuric is right there, right above. Okay, that's good. I need a methanol reactor. Mark 2, ideally one of these. I'll put it there. Yeah, right close.